Keir, how are you doing, man? Round
Good.
two.
Round two. When was the last one? 2 years ago?
No, the podcast. You were guest 2 or 3 or 4, and that was November 2021.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
who was guest number 1?
Joel, because I asked Joel about. Joel was my first podcast that I did. I was on his podcast and kind of asked him how to make a good podcast. So that's what the first episode was about. So yeah. Joel threw me in the deep end because that was a big podcast to be on for my first one, and I was shitting myself, but I did okay. So.
Did he talk to you about ayahuasca?
No.
Bro, you get that guy started on ayahuasca, he doesn't stop.
He hasn't mentioned it to me. Certainly not on a podcast.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to?
Since then, oh man, 2021. Well, I got married. Made some changes to the business. And I think it's a little bit of a natural progression, which is just like, wherever your focus is, whatever you do more, you're probably going to build credibility in that regard. You're probably going to self-identify a little bit more in that regard. And yeah, man, look, I coached. So I left full-time coaching in October of 2020. And then I kind of had this mentality of like, I need a break. And it's a little bit arrogant, but it's also, I think, fair, which is, man, it would be a shame if I didn't coach anyone. I've got like all this experience, pretty good at what I do. I thought, it'd be a shame if I didn't coach anyone. So I started volunteering for a high school in the summer of 2021. And it was just painful. It was painful just because, you're more free of the usual bullshit, but it's all still there. And, like this, it actually happened parallel at that time. I was like, did a little bit for an NFL team and volunteering at this high school. And I was getting more responsiveness out of the NFL team. And I was just like, this is just a waste of my time. So anyway, that was the last time I coached, which is 2021. And yeah, it's just got to the point where I just don't, I have the theoretical knowledge. I have the practical experience. Like there's a lot of coaches out there that I could help, but then I'm like, don't consider myself a coach anymore, more interested in business. I remember I went to a conference recently, just mostly to catch up with people. And I think I bought 3 or 4 books and haven't touched them, but I got a stack of business books like this. That's the stuff that interests me mostly now. So, I have had Rugby Strength Coach Network, both under management. Got a little bit sick of both of them. So, back end of last year, decided to, and we can talk about the mechanics of it if you want, but basically stop promoting Strength Coach Network, stop spending the ad money, and then probably ended up taking maybe another $8,000 off the table each month and just kind of putting it away.
Which you were putting into ads.
Yeah. And, my wife bravely helped me spend that money. And, when it was more of a maintenance period, or just kind of okay, we've grown the site to a certain size. Let's consolidate that. Let's take some money off the table, which we did. And, by that point, it was 2 hours a month I was spending on the site. Did some other stuff with Rugby Strength Coach. It's just the same kind of thing, which is I think authenticity sells. If there's a reason that people engage with me online, it's because for the most part, what you see is what you get. Certainly more than the average in our field. And I have not watched a rugby game. Well, I've watched 2 rugby games since I left rugby in 2018. I watched 1 game at my dad's house when we took the baby back and everyone could meet the baby. And I watched 1 in San Diego when I was staying with a friend who was a strength coach of San Diego, and it was painful. And I just thought, listen, the enthusiasm's not there. Again, I'm better than a lot of people, but am I as good as I could be? If this was my 40-hour-a-week job, stuff like that. So then I also had that under management, had a staff member manage that, but it's just got to the point where I could check. I haven't checked, but I basically instructed one of my staff members. I was like, right, do a fire sale, kill rugby strength coach. So rugby strength coach, in my mind, does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of what I do frequently, which is like the burn the boats, like, okay, that's done, move on, build something new. Yeah.
Do you was there a chance to sell rugby strength coach? Is there a rugby coach out there that would buy rugby strength coach?
I had a conversation with someone about it, but the thing is this, right? You and I have talked a bunch of times about, in order for a business to be a valuable asset that someone would buy, it has to be like turnkey. Like, they don't want to look at your business when you're running it and be like, oh, this business makes 100, 200, whatever, thousands, millions, whatever per year, knowing that when they come in, it's going to drop off a cliff.
Yeah. It should be the opposite.
Exactly. They should be able to come in, use their experiences, their assets, their systems, all that kind of stuff to make it better. And again, it's arrogant, but name another heavily experienced person in rugby that has that also has the experience that I have online, business, stuff like that. There's a couple of people that could get close, and I reached out to them, but they don't have the money to buy it. They weren't interested in seller financing, all that kind of stuff. And then the thing is like, it's an inherently unscalable business. It's an inherently seasonal business. There's always a race to the bottom. And I think the pain points just aren't there. Yeah.
Just trying to serve athletes, that there's just,
it's every man on earth thinks he knows how to fuck, fight, and drive better than the average. If he's ever picked up a barbell, add training to the mix. Half the year they disappear. So that's, the best businesses are recurring businesses. Then you have to consider the thing that there's a huge amount of individualization that needs to take place in your fulfillment of that product or service in order for them to get great results. Mm-hmm. I don't have this equipment. I don't train on these days. My schedule doesn't fit up, all that kind of stuff. That's a limit. Then you look at like, okay, total addressable market of rugby players, 4 million registered rugby players in the world. Okay. How many of them are pro, getting it for free? How many of them are so amateur they don't care? Yeah. So you just get rid of these massive chunks. Then it's like, okay, now take the people that are arrogant enough to think that they can do it themselves. Then you take, it's just like this.
And how many of them have enough money to even be able to, a mixture of care plus they care, plus they actually have enough money to care and put their money where their mouth is.
You can make a living doing it. Mm-hmm. You can for sure make a living doing it.
Yeah, but that's not good enough for you.
No, I mean, that's not what I aspire to. So
yeah. Do you get bored easily with things, do you think?
Yeah.
Me too.
It's not, I wouldn't say like bored, but if it's like, I like to make meaningful progress.
Yeah. It's not bored. It's you have to feel like that challenge is there to keep pushing forward.
And it's like,
of course, it's not to say you couldn't be a better rugby strength coach, but the gains are going to be very minuscule at this stage for you.
Yeah, and it's like, I had this conversation with Eric Coram, which is when he and I both came in at William and Mary, it was like, right, we need to get the fuck out of here. We're going to go to the NFL. We're going to work together, all this kind of stuff. And it got to like 2-3 years after that point, and it was like, well, actually, we've probably outgrown what that represents. Like, that's not going to cut it. Like, being told what to do and having the same problems with a nicer office, no thanks. Like, I would like to build something bigger than, well, I don't have access to a sled. What should I do? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tricky. It's very tricky. I think we're quite similar personality wise in that regard. I get a little bit, I get a lot like that. We've been like progressing well for a couple of years, and I had this conversation with Jamie Smith on his podcast, Melbourne Strength Culture. It was like it feels like,
he signed up for my course. I spoke to him.
Perfect. Yeah, he's he's a legend, very good business guy. Just a really nice guy. But it feels to me like I'm at a stage, and it's like I just want to like burn it down and move on to the next thing. But I'm far away from the point where like I'm only making marginal gains. I have massive gains to make in the business world and in the coaching world, but that thing is like itching at me to just burn it down for no reason and move on. And I'm not saying that that's what you've done. It just feels like, to me as well, it just feels like looking at you, it's like you're just done. It's ready for the next thing.
Well, you know, he's a Scientologist lunatic. He probably front-run his investors and defrauded them. But, you know, a kernel of wisdom from Grant Cardone, which is you have to be willing to kill the existing version of yourself to become the future version of yourself. So if you look at his career, he started out as a car salesman, then he was a sales trainer, then he was an online marketing guy, then he's into multifamily real estate, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you can go back to, when was it? A couple of months ago, I was like, no more rugby strength coach. That's why the Instagram now is Call Me Keir. That's why I bought callmekeir.com, because it's like people, you know, just because I thought, you know, I like to argue with people online. It's good for good marketing if you can handle it. You know, who have you even coached? More fucking people than you. Oh, you don't coach anyone. Yeah. Doesn't mean that I haven't, you know, and it's like, well, okay. You know, oh, you know, who do you even coach? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. I've let the work stand for itself. And
yeah. Why can some people pull off the meme stuff and others can't?
Because it's inauthentic.
Mm-hmm. Good answer.
Again, not that I'm like I'm not like a model coach. I haven't had the world's best career, but, you know, like I have a friend who he kind of said to me, he's like, there's a lot of people out there that want to do a good impression of you, but then, you know, they want, you know, in wrestling, it's called like the heel turn, playing the heel. They want to do that. And he said basically that they haven't done the work to get to that point, or they're unwilling to deal with the blowback that comes from that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if it's inauthentic, it's obvious when it comes across. Yeah. And if you're not willing to stand by what you said, it also comes across.
Because you really kind of started. I know you've pushed more and more into it recently, but you really kind of started probably like, I don't know, in my mind, like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe around when COVID started, where you just stopped caring as much and pushed into that more. Maybe when you just stopped coaching, actually, more and more into that.
Oh yeah,
like less repercussions. But at that stage, like I started seeing people kind of copying what you were doing, and actually, I just saw them burn bridge after bridge after bridge, and like people just think they're just. That's what I
designed. That's what I designed to do it for.
Yeah, but you attract people and burn certain bridges at the same time. They just burn bridges and never age.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so I had this conversation last week, which is, even though I don't man Strength Coach Network, Instagram, Strength Coach Network, Twitter, stuff like that, you can go back. There was a post, it got a fucking huge engagement because Justin, who made the post, made the valid point, which is West Side for athletes is a dumb idea. You're taking a powerlifting paradigm and applying it to a field-based sport based on the knowledge and experience of someone who has never worked in a field-based sport. Huge blow up and stuff like that. And somebody said, oh, be careful that you don't alienate yourself from large chunks of the industry. And I'm like, that's an acceptable price to pay if I consolidate my positioning with the 5% that I'm actually for. Yeah, and so it's twofold. One, you can read, it's still up there, that Medium post that I accidentally posted it. I wrote this big draft the day that I left coaching. I think I pressed publish on Medium, and I was like, I'm going to publish it on Medium. And then if I still feel the same way, I'm going to copy and paste that link on my social media feeds. Not forgetting that when I'd set up Medium, it was already linked to those profiles that went out. I think it had 500 retweets.
Yeah.
But I said at the end of that, like, I'm going to fucking enjoy this. Like, I'm going to speak my mind, because on a weekly basis, pretty much at William and Mary, take it down, take it down, take it down. I'm like, okay, one, I'm going to enjoy myself and say what needs to be said. Two, it's like burn the boats. I did say in that thing, like, oh, I may go back. I'm never going to go back. Never again. Because I don't want to be told what to do. And he's probably made it public now. TK, my friend, great example. He got fired for a bullshit reason the other day. And I'm never going to put my ability to feed my kid in the hands of somebody that would make a decision like that. So yeah, I'm meant to burn the boats. And I'm okay. And the thing is as well, you can say that it attracts people. I'll say it openly. Go on socialblade.com, search my Instagram profile, and watch it do this. Because
you just pointed down, by the way, for people
yeah,
listening.
Yeah.
Not up.
But here's the thing. Vernon Griffith, he's a fucking smart dude. He's like, learn the difference between consumers and customers. You can get your social media following to go like this, up. I'm pointing up. You can get it to go up by basically being an entertainer. Give someone a free dopamine hit. Here's an exercise that you can copy and you don't have to think about. When you start on purpose being like, oh, by the way, this thing that you believe in is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. None of this matters, blah, 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 blah. You're going to turn people off. But the thing is, the revenue keeps going up. Mm-hmm. Those are people that were never going to buy from me anyway. Cool. Don't care. It's better to have your, in my opinion, social media following drop precipitously to, I don't know, 10,000 people. And every single one of those 10,000 people is going to put their hands in their pocket and be like, give me what you have to sell. Then 45,000 people being like, oh, can you share an exercise? Oh, can you make a meme about this? Like, yeah. No, fuck off.
Yeah. Because that goes back to the blog post by whatever the guy's name is. Tim Ferriss always references it, the 1,000 true fans. It's the same.
It's actually a Kevin Kelly concept.
Kevin Kelly, yeah. And that, I was thinking about that today, actually. Like, your true fans really on social media are the ones that watch your stories every day. Like, they are really the people that are going to ultimately buy from you. But I don't know. I found a bit of both, where our Instagram account has grown quite a bit over the last 6 months, probably. And I went probably too far in the direction of like viral content, and it worked. Like, it's not a secret. It's easy to do. You can grow your account. A couple of reels got like 5 million views. Now you're going to obviously attract a lot of trash followers along the way, but our revenue grew as well at the same time. But like, you are risking, it got to an uncomfortable stage for me where I was like, oh shit, like, now if Instagram is only going to show your stuff to 10% of the people, like, which 10% is it showing it to? The people that actually don't like your stuff that much. So I don't know. I think I just don't enjoy the meme stuff that much, because I don't know. I like banter. Not that I don't enjoy consuming it. I don't enjoy posting it that much. Every day I just try and post something on my Instagram that's helpful for someone. Yeah. And not that the meme stuff can be helpful. Don't get me wrong. I just try. That's the way I go about it, because when people start writing comments and stuff and bitching at me and stuff like that, it's like saps at me. I'm like, I fucking want to be right, so fuck this person. Not like not like I really care. It's not like it gets at me as in it hurts me. It's more like I just start to get that energy where I'm like, fuck that person. And
Bro,
that's not good energy for
we're
me.
just shit flinging monkeys, hogging onto a rock, flying through space. That's all we are.
I know. But I don't want to be a shit flinging monkey flying through space who's on his phone getting angry at some fucking idiot.
Yeah.
So yeah. So even like sometimes I have little small pops at people, and I just keep it just like 10% less than I might have. Where you go like 10% more than you might have. But I suppose that's the authenticity thing. It's just about what feels right for you.
Yeah, bro. It's like, I just think it's like necessary energy. Everything in balance. Do you know, is it Ken Jakowski on Twitter?
No.
He's the nicest guy. He's a high school track coach. He's been coaching for like 50 years. Such a good guy. Had a stroke, kept working, tweets about his rehab, tweets about his cardiac stuff, all that kind of stuff. The nicest guy. And I just tell people that I'm his counterpoint. He exists so that I can tell people what fucking frauds they are.
Yin and yang.
Yeah.
So what are the best, how people who are listening who want to make money online, coaches, what should they do? Few obvious things that they're not doing that they should be doing, apart from stirring the pot.
Solve the most immediate pain you can in the fastest way possible, in a manner that reduces the friction and difficulty to the person solving the problem.
Okay, so what's an example of some pains then?
What you do. One of the reasons that I believe you've been so successful is I'm
so good looking.
You know what? You help people to get out of a very real physical pain very, very quickly via some low friction strategies. I forget who I was talking to the other day, but they mentioned you, which is like, you know, if you have the choice between a specialist piece of equipment that you have to travel to the gym to do, or you can do it with, you know, a wall and body weight, why wouldn't you do it with body weight? Because it's that much lower friction of a solution. I think, you know,
so now we're getting into low friction. Yeah. So so a second ago you mentioned identify the pain, friction,
huge pain. So here's the thing.
And speed. So pain, least friction, and fastest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Straight still, Alex Hormozi value equation. Dream outcome multiplied by likelihood of success divided by time to outcome multiplied by difficulty and friction, or unpleasantness.
Yeah.
So this is like a Russell Brunson thing, is like, there's honestly very few real pains. There's money, health, relationships. And the difficulty when you're an online strength coach was you'll be like, oh, well, we're in the health business. Are you though? Like, offer a professional rugby player who knows that, you know, you could give them 10 reasons why RDLs and Olympic lifts are important. And you could say, okay, I'm going to give you the choice now for the rest of your career, bench press and biceps, RDLs and Olympic lifts. One of them has to go. What are they going to pick? They value image, which is status, which is sex, over performance, that way more. I had a guy that taught me at university. He did research into steroid use in rugby athletes. They all claim to use steroids for performance. It's all to do with image and status. Yeah. So it's hard. Or no, I think the mistake that people make is that they position themselves as to solving a kind of pain that isn't the most pressing. Which I realize now at times throughout my career, I was selling the alleviation of a pain that wasn't that high up the totem pole. If I'd been like, fuck, let's get big arms to go get some pussy, that could have been the sugar to help the medicine go down. So I feel like, you know, if running through a mental exercise in my head, lay out everything that you spend money on in a month in order of priority, I would hate to give this up. It's probably going to be food, rent, utilities, fuel, all the way down the list. Normally, you know, the luxury of a training service is going to be the first thing to go. And I feel like the more that you can honestly assess how high up the totem pole your product or service is, the easier it is to sell. Mm-hmm. For obvious reasons, I have never seen an advertisement for illegal drugs, prostitution, all that kind of stuff. They sell themselves because, rightly or wrongly, they alleviate a pain that the consumer is feeling at that moment, quickly, with low friction, and 100% guarantee it's going to work.
If you can find a hooker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if not, you're onto Pornhub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that the pain that people are identifying, like I solved this pain point, is not, I'll repeat kind of what you said there, is not the pain that you think it is. So with a lot of people in, let's say in physiotherapy, physical therapy, they're talking about back pain or knee pain or something like that. You will not keep your clients motivated by always talking about their knee pain. They're coming to you because you'll have knee pain for 2 years and I just get on with it. I deal with it. I have no problem. It's fucking annoying, but I keep going. Suddenly I go to a physio one day and actually something made them go. And that was because they couldn't get down on the floor to play with their kids, or they couldn't go to the tennis game with their friends. And then you're talking about how important tennis is to them. So yeah, you've identified actually tennis, like I can't play tennis. That's the pain point. But that's not even the pain point. It's the fact that after tennis, they go for a few beers or something like that with their friends. And now they're out of their social circle.
The biggest thing that made me get that meniscus surgery in January was I couldn't train jiu-jitsu and I couldn't sit all the way back when I was doing the intercourse.
They're two big pains. Exactly. Yeah. So that's a perfect example, because you could live the rest of your life and you wouldn't give a shit about that little bit of
straighten my leg, but yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of people will not give a shit about that.
Yeah,
they won't care. They won't care. So it's actually like people could, if they were trying to motivate you to do your rehab, they would talk about your knee. And what they need to talk about is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Or sex.
And it's not like, oh, I'm doing jiu-jitsu. It's the fact that that's my social life. And all of those people, I've just had that connection ripped away. That's the root pain.
Exactly.
And everything that you're doing as a product or service provider is to alleviate that root pain. The product or service is the vehicle to doing so. Yeah. And that's what I think. One thing that I've tried to realize is it's not, well, I'm a coach or I sell this or I do that. It's like I serve X audience that feel Y pain. And I just leverage what interests me, what I'm good at, what skills and experience I have to attack that problem in the most expedient and efficient way that I can.
So this leads me to the next part of analysis, which is you tried to solve strength coaches' pain points by setting up Strength Coach Network, which was very successful. It solved a lot of pain points, but their pain point wasn't necessarily that I'm not a good enough coach, or I need to learn more about all these movements and how to coach. It's actually, I want to have a better career where I make more money. And that's the pain point you're trying to solve now.
Correct. Because this is the evolution that I've had to go through and the kind of lessons that I've had to learn, which is, well, they want to be educated. No, they don't. If I was to snap my fingers and say, you can be the world's most knowledgeable coach and unemployed, or you can have a Power 5 logo on your shirt and a high paying job and be a fucking moron, maybe with or without a mustache, they would bite your hand off for the money and the status. So the education is a vehicle to those things. Mm-hmm. Now, given the oversubscription of the field, if I was the world's best business person and I've got the recipe, like every interview you get, you're going to fucking knock it out the park. You're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. 9 out of 10 of the customers are going to fail just by virtue of the numbers. Also, if we're really honest, given the number of high status morons in the field of strength and conditioning, does knowledge or skill or experience have any bearing on the job that you're going to get or ingratiating yourself to people in positions of influence? The latter. And, you know, ultimately, this is another thing. Be delivering results that you have a direct relationship or ability to influence the outcome of, and that you can measure. Look at the niches that are most lucrative in the online space: vertical jump, bench press, sprint speed, pitching velocity, serving velocity, club head speed, drive distance, all that kind of stuff. The more intangible, it may be right, but the more intangible and the broader the result that you're delivering, in my opinion, the worse a business model is. Yeah. If you took an O lineman and said, I will increase your bench press by 100 pounds in 12 weeks or less, you might be a way more lopsided and ineffective athlete, but you would do better business than I'm going to make you a better O lineman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't measure.
So, you know, can I control the status or the level of job that a strength coach has directly? No, I can't. Strength Coach Network is really, really good at providing you with the potential to do so. Otherwise, it wouldn't have
been successful
got to the point where it is.
Yeah.
But can I control the ability to put $1 grand, $5 grand, 10 grand in your pocket between now and the end of the year? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why on my podcast, I've talked so much about the business side of things. Like, yeah. I love talking about movement. I absolutely love it. But every solo episode, whatever, I'm talking about a little bit of business stuff, Instagram stuff, because there's just a weird thing. And I said it in our workshop the other day about, I said it on my last solo podcast, people are talking about coaches saying, I don't want to be an influencer, I want to be a coach. I'm like, you're saying that because you cannot influence anyone. You don't even have the ability to influence clients to work with you in the first place. So that's a big part of the job. I think we've transitioned a lot over the last couple of years to start to, like, as you know now, teaching workshops, and we have our educational side, and we're moving much more in that direction because I can just influence more people, make more money. And I enjoy teaching more. I enjoy teaching people more, like coaches, about movement than just working one-on-one with clients all the time. But I do like a mix of both. And that's been successful. Like, people will constantly write to me about how well how their clinic is now full because they're using things in these ways, but then other people won't. So I guess that's the gap that we're not quite ticking, which is showing people how to transfer their skills into actually the business. And it's not that hard, I don't think. It's just hard to get that point across.
But think about the intelligence level of the average American, and then consider that 49% of the country is dumber than that.
Yeah.
No offense, America.
Just the world in general.
Well, I'm salty at America because I found out the wait period for my green card has gone from 8 months to 22. So
okay, yeah, okay. Have some more digs at America. Okay, you posted you did a post around building your moat. What does that mean, and how do we do it?
So Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger would call it a franchise, which is you want to make it inherently difficult you want to make it prohibitive for anyone attempting to compete with you. They just couldn't do it. Or you want to make it really, really hard. So let me think, like Amazon. They have built such efficiency and scale and size into their business that there is no way that you could ever hope to compete with them. Price, speed, convenience, anything like that. Like, you would be way more expensive. You would take way longer, way more inconvenient, stuff like that. It's like, that is a moat. You are never, ever, ever going to compete with them. You can have products or services where there's just, it's so indispensable and it's so hard to switch that you're never, it would have to be like a disaster for you to switch. So stuff like, certain softwares, like, again, Amazon S3. Netflix is probably never going to switch from Amazon S3 because they never have any downtime. They have unlimited capacity. It's seamless, stuff like that. Social media brands, they benefit from network effects. It's winner take all. So for example, Facebook, anytime they see a threat, they just buy it up. So
not anymore.
Yeah. TikTok. Prior to that, like,
they're just not allowed. Yeah, exactly. They built such a good moat that the government were just like, no.
Yeah. We're gonna buy you up. Instagram, buy you up. WhatsApp, buy you up. Like, all this kind of stuff. Or they make it so hard to leave those platforms. Same thing with advertisers. Like, outside of Google and Meta and maybe Amazon, go try and advertise online and see what happens. It's so hard. So do I think that you can build that level of, franchise, or make it so hard to compete with people as a service provider, online coach, in-person coach, athletic trainer, physical therapist? Not as much, but there's certain things that you can do to protect yourself against that. And I think that's when it comes down to niching right down. So for example, when I was the rugby strength coach, do you think there was anyone that would really be able to compete with me on the level of experience that I had, the combination of skills that I talked about, like presence online, ability to communicate with people like that? It's probably like 2 or 3 other people that were reasonably prominent in training rugby players online at the time. One of them won the World Cup, and he just jumped the shark and did a bunch of weird bullshit. Steve what's his face. And then like 2 or 3 others that I know rugby strength coach was doing many more times revenue than those other sites. Mm-hmm. But if I'd have just been like, oh, I'm an online strength coach.
Just strength coach instead of rugby strength coach. Yeah.
People would be like, well, you're not Charles Poliquin. Well, you're not Mike Boyle. You're not Chad Wesley Smith. You're not this, you're not that. And it's like, it's better to own a tiny, tiny piece of the internet where nobody could possibly hope to compete with you than it is to compete on that broad scale. Yeah. And the thing is as well, it's like, if you look at a lot of major brands, what they tend to do is they tend to own one particular product, sector, geographic area, and then they expand out. So for example, Facebook started as harvard.edu only. Then it was the Ivy League. Then it was, Stanford. Then it was students only. Then it was the US. Then it was, and so on and so on. Amazon started with books. Then they went to DVDs. Then eventually they went to stuff that wasn't a box shape. Now they own pharmacies, Whole Foods, all kind of stuff. Uber started in San Francisco. Then they went to, like Chicago, New York. They get all those major markets. Okay, now we're going to go to Brazil, like all this kind of stuff. And if you look at, not that I'm on that level, the rugby strength coach network, strength coach money moves. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, what I have in my head is, well, okay, online strength coaches, in-person strength coaches, ATCs and physical therapists, sport coaches in general, dietitians and so on, and just those kind of like expanding concentric circles.
Yeah. So what would you say, if any, is my moat, or what could I do better? Free consult here.
mean, I'm gonna lay the foundation that we're gonna have offline, but like you have encountered the same problem that I have to an extent. I think you've hit the ceiling at a high level of revenue and more success, which is you struggle to decide if you are for practitioners or for consumers.
Practitioners.
Okay. So
we haven't hit a ceiling.
It's not a ceiling, more of an impasse.
I know.
Yeah. Which
I just wanted to slip that in. We hit a ceiling for about a year.
Yeah.
While I transitioned into more practitioners, and then we've blown through the ceiling.
Given that you're training practitioners who will leverage your experience, materials, blah, 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 to make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, is a $100 ebook or a one-off workshop capitalizing on that fact, when you could flesh out those offers, you could be more prescriptive in, or, you know, you could be more kind of like, well, here's the how, the what, the why, the contingencies, how it fits together, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a long-term project for you, but like where you need to go with it is you need to be like, okay, you're a David Grey certified level 1, level 2, level 3. You're going to pay us $1,000 a year to be in the network, to come to the conference, to do the CPD events, stuff like that. And then I think when it comes to the media, a little bit, like, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot. You should not be talking to me. There is not a physical therapist or athletic trainer that needs to hear from the rugby meme guy. It might be you're kind of like, again, it ties into like, you're what is the root cause of the problem? Physical therapists want, for the most part, money, but they also maybe crave the status or the connection that comes from being like, this is the only guy that can solve my pain. And then I think a useful way to think about it is if you were to flip that on its head and say, okay, you are going to do your best to absolutely tank a therapist clinic. How would you do it? List out all the ways that you could absolutely fucking destroy somebody's business. Financially illiterate, no systems and processes. You hire absolute dickheads. You have no interpersonal manner. You don't stay up to date with certain techniques. You do stuff that's not scalable. You do all this hands-on bullshit rather than teach people to be functional. Each of those things, you need to flip it on its head and say, okay, how do you have a good interpersonal manner? How should you be financially literate? How should you select people? How should you do this? Mm-hmm. Those need to be the angles that you're providing value to. And I think there's a spectrum of do it yourself, done with you, done for you. Mm-hmm. And that needs to be your tiers of your offerings, which is level 1 is slightly repurposed, but the templates that you have. Yeah. Done with you is going to be your in-person, or it could be, you could have a course in between, having the course in between, having the in-person mentorships where people come to you in Waterford, because then you're increasing your scale. You could be doing one of those every single weekend, or, every quarter or whatever it is. Then the top tier needs to be, we will come to your clinic for a week and basically unfuck it, and you're going to pay a lot of money for the privilege. Yeah. Then setting up your funnel so that you are leveraging your media presence to attract those kinds of people and driving them to the bottom of that funnel as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And that's not in that exact way, but that's the direction that we've been moving towards.
I can tell.
And I know. And it's just, I haven't been rushing with anything. And I spoke to my dad about this yesterday. It was like, I know a lot of people say strike while the iron is hot and stuff, and there is definitely a case to be made for that and moving quick and stuff like that. But I don't know. I've been just enjoying the journey we're on as well. That's why.
And I think as well, it's like the whole like strike when the iron is hot. You're not in a business where it's fashionable or not fashionable, where you have to do that, you know. So if you were like, for example, I keep using these big brands, but I think it's universal. It's like YouTube Shorts needed to be made yesterday. Facebook and Instagram Reels yesterday, because if you don't, you're going to have your lunch taken by TikTok and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or, you know, these brands like racing to accept cryptocurrency as payment. People were in pain yesterday. They're going to be in pain today. They're going to be in pain tomorrow. Your business is not going out of style or out of fashion.
Yeah. I've tried to really be clear. Like, our brand is everything in terms of, I'm never going to sacrifice like trying to move and make some quick money and sacrifice our brand. And I've taught for like 3 years now, since we started releasing programs. It was basically all so many practitioners buying it. It was like, oh, when they buy this, they won't buy the next thing. Or sorry, like they'll feel like they have everything and they won't want to buy the next thing. And I've consistently just been proved wrong. And even now at the workshops, like at the end of every workshop, people are like, when's the mentorship? And you know, so it's actually, but that just tells me we're attracting the right people, because they're hungry for more. They're not just looking for that quick fix. So I know, like, our email list is filled with 12 or 15,000 of the right people that are gonna.
In my opinion, you should have a template for each of the major injury types and injury sites. That feeds down into a long form course, that feeds down into an in-person mentorship, and then that kind of like white glove, pay me a lot of money option.
So how can it seems like the moat stuff with regards to online coaches, let's say, the moats are built with personal brands.
Correct.
But you're historically have spoken to me about personal brands not necessarily being the right option. So flesh that out for me.
It's only a poor option if the expectation is not set on the front end that you are buying a result and you, as the face of the brand, promote that result. If you're promoting it as, come and train with me, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, not that's perfect. December of 2022, I'm like, fucking, you know, come sign up for Strength Coach Network Fundamentals. We'll give you a free year to Strength Coach Network. And I've yet to go on the site since. But it's like, you know, we have a good enough staff in place. We have good enough resources. You know, it's still a good deal for people. And it's like, you know, do you have to accept the fact that perhaps the results might be a little bit worse than if you were at the coalface yourself? Yes. But 5 people, a third as good as you, will still outperform you by 50%. As long as the math works out and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you have to look at like, are there practitioners out there that can get in the ballpark of your level of ability as a physical therapist? Sure. Are there a lot of people out there with your ability to communicate, simplify, promote your brand, build those relationships, and position your products and services? Absolutely not. So if you have to look at it as like, what is the highest leverage on your time? It will be that stuff. You'll still be the face of the brand, but to be at the coalface, it's like mowing lawns for a living when you have a law degree.
Yeah, we're maybe at the stage. That's where I've been struggling with is trying to is trying to maybe make that next step. Like you're saying, that certification type of thing, really that needs to be under a brand name that's not necessary. That's just not necessarily my name. That's definitely not my name. It can be associated with my name, but
It could be, but like,
I don't want it to be though, you know.
But here's the thing, like, look at, you can see this. It's kind of like being done quite sly. Go look at Dave Ramsey's stuff. There are shows and all that kind of stuff under the Dave Ramsey brand that he does not feature in. The same thing with Tom Segura. He's a comedian. It's the Your Mom's House podcast, but now they have YMH Studios. So they've, Dr. Drew does a show for them and stuff like that. So it's like, I think those two people, for example, even though they're media personalities in the face of their brands, they're leveraging that brand to create other stuff that they can remove themselves from that might be valuable in their own right.
So for coaches who are trying to make some money online, it might be like a side thing. It might be, let's say a side thing for now. So they're creating content and they feel like they're speaking to their niche, and maybe it's working a little bit, maybe it's not. Do you think, like, because a lot of people will maybe copy what I've done or what you've done with maybe templates, like where we started. Do you think they're better off with that type of offering first, or with just like go straight to one-to-one online coaching, group coaching? Like what type of offer, or what's the pros and cons of different types of ones?
You should sell the most expensive shit first, just because if you consider a marketing funnel to be a series of assumptions. So the assumption is, if they stumble across one of your posts, your ads, guest media, all that kind of stuff, they will click through to your profile. If they click through, they'll consume the content. They'll follow. They'll keep, they'll give you progressively higher amounts of time and attention. Short form media, medium form media, long form media. Oh shit, he's got free stuff available. They'll give you an email address. They'll open the emails. They'll read them. They'll click through. They'll click to a low level product. They'll get value from it. They'll, get an intermediate level product. They will give you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars each year as a long-term client, and they'll hang around and they'll refer people to you. Each of those is an assumption. Each of those takes time, money, attention or effort to validate. However, it is completely possible to validate the initial assumptions and fall completely flat for the rest. So for example, if you were to reverse engineer and say, okay, I want to make $100,000 a year online. And in order to do that, just ignoring intermediate products and stuff like that, I'm going to have 100 people pay me $1,000 a year, broken down into, was it like $75 a month? Need 100 people at $75 a month. Let's say that I'm going to convert 1% of my list. So I need 10,000 people on my email list, and 15% of the people that follow me online will sign up for my list. Okay, I need 15 times that, or whatever, 8 times that. I'm going to need 100,000 people to follow me online. Right, let's go build a profile. Let's go build a social media following. 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Shit, I've got 100,000 people that follow me online. Okay, time to put out the offer. You put it out and it tanks. Yeah. You spend all that time building something to direct people towards something that doesn't work. Whereas if you build it in reverse and you just put it out and say, okay, online coaching for postpartum mothers that want to lose 20 pounds in 3 months without losing time with their baby, stuff like that. And you just say, hey, 5-10 spots available, this on offer, money back guarantee, whatever, sign up. You're going to get immediate feedback about whether or not people want that. Then you can back it out and come up with an email resource for expectant mothers, like, what to expect about bodily changes after you give birth, knowing the least X% of the eyeballs that see that offer will convert. And then they're only going to convert higher when you've delivered the value via that lead magnet. Then, for every X number of leads that I get through that lead magnet, it's going to result in Y customers. Then you can go out and say, okay, I need, this many followers. I need this many people consuming my media. Then you can go out and target that media, knowing these are the points that we're going to have to talk about. These are the avatars that we're appealing to, like all that kind of stuff. And then once you do that, it's like you can pay for the eyeballs, knowing if we get X number of people, it's going to cost, I don't know, $5 an email. We need 100 emails to make a sale. We'll make $1,000 from that. Take your $1,000, go out and buy, several thousand eyeballs, and it will come through the other end.
Yeah, I think that's probably where people go wrong, is that they see you selling a template for $50 or something like that, and they have a small social media following. They have 500, 1,000, couple of thousand people, and they release that template. They release a template like that for $50.
Yeah.
And they spend months and months creating it.
Yeah.
And they're going to convert 1% of their 1 to 3 to 5%, 10% if they're doing unbelievably well of their social media following.
Is crushing it. Like, I think historically mine is like 5 to 7.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it a while. Like 1% is probably realistic.
Exactly. We did 10 when we were at 50,000 Instagram followers. We had 10,000 of those basically by Lower Body Basics. Then we went like viral and stuff, and that those numbers got skewed. And I say to people, like, that is, you shouldn't expect that. And I don't mean that as in like we're better or anything like that. It's just the industry averages. I would expect people to do like 1%.
Yeah.
So they're going to do 1%. They're not going to make any money, and they've just wasted a shit ton of time.
If your margins are crazy high and the price tag is crazy high.
Yes, exactly. It can't be a low.
Yeah. Whether you're selling a template, whether you're selling $1,000 of training, it's going to cost you probably $5 to get an email.
Yeah.
Might as well make, $995 versus $45.
Exactly. And it's probably, to get an email, it's going to cost you the same amount, and to get a sale, you're still going to make the same amount of sales probably.
Yeah. So
I think that's a mistake. So I would consider doing the template type of stuff once, if that's an option. It's not always the best option, but once you're completely full up with your like online coaching, high ticket stuff, now I can release something to keep, and that kind of keeps prospects warm as well in the pipeline, and you can make some money in the meantime. I think now look, that's me being, no, it's not actually. I was full up with clients, and I was full up with online clients, and that just kind of came by accident. We weren't super targeted on our niche or anything like that. I was just talking about the things that I like to talk about online, sharing the stuff that I wanted to share, talking to who I wanted to talk to. And then, but we were like nurturing that list, if you want to call it that, on social media for 3 years, putting out like quality information every day, or what I thought was quality anyway. And then we released the program, and like 3,000 people bought it in one day.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, we could have been doing that and released that, and then maybe no one would have bought it.
Yeah.
It's not, it is an option.
You still had a full client list. You still had a full client list.
Exactly. So in your course, how are you going to teach people to make money? Is it about finding a niche? Is it about building the audience? Is it about how to structure and sell a product? Is it about ads? Is it about
modules? I'll give you the modules. The modules are, let me see.
Money guy. You should have called you the money guy instead of, oh no, well, you kind of branded yourself the rugby guy. You changed from rugby strength coach to the rugby guy.
Well, no, that was to take the piss out of the Americans, because when I became the head strength coach of William and Mary, a bunch of the fans were like, "Oh, he's just the rugby guy."
The rugby guy. Now he's the money guy.
Do you have any idea? So module 1, this is the thing that I actually changed recently, which is module 1 is just like, here's how you run a flash sale. Like, here's how you make a bunch of money in a hurry because of the providing results quickly, more value. So I actually asked people ahead of time. I said, listen, do you want me to just go through a flash sale? Like, here's how you shake the tree, get some money, get some momentum, validate some ideas, all that kind of stuff. So that's week 1. Then it is reverse engineering to kind of like look at, what is it that you're working towards? Because like we said, if you want to make 100 grand online in this niche, like, here's what you need to do. There may be a ceiling after that. Like, so that would be acceptable in one situation, unacceptable if you want to do more doing something else. So kind of like looking at that, kind of like business fundamentals. So the mechanics, like, what are the governing principles? What are the key metrics that you need to be paying attention to? How do you grow a business? Like, all that kind of stuff. Niching, audience, building products and offers, sales, email marketing, just because I think it's that important to know how to market via email. Social media and content, systems, processes, and technology, and then delegation and outsourcing.
In the email stuff, are you teaching people how to write, or just how to think about email? It
would be like trying to teach someone how to have sex. You do not learn that between the pages of a book. You have to get in the sheets. But there are structuring how you deliver those emails. So for example, it's like there is a direct relationship between how many emails you send, when you send them, what you say, and how much people buy. And a lot of that can be formulaic. Like, for example, the second somebody gives me their email address, I'm going to put a sales offer in front of them because enthusiasm is high. The likelihood of a sale declines the longer that you have their email address and they've not yet bought. So the enthusiasm is highest at the point they give you your email address. Put an offer in front of them. If they say no, I'm going to trigger an email sequence to email them every single day, minimum, for the next week, to try and put them back in the bucket.
Saying no is just not buying something.
Yeah. Not taking an immediate upsell on. Yeah. So then it would be, okay, well, maybe you need a little bit more convincing. The value proposition isn't there yet. The risk minimization isn't there. The price, the urgency, all that kind of stuff. So we'll hammer them for the next 6 or 7 days. And that's completely automated with, some conditions and stuff like that, personalized coupon codes, get them back in the bucket. Just adding that can make the difference of, thousands and thousands and thousands per year. Like, I think in December, I forget, the last time I looked, it was like, maybe we did 6,000 just by being like, do you want to upsell? Like, immediate upsells, crazy discount. Do you want to buy? Yes or no? And then we recoup some more through the emails and stuff like that. So there's definitely if you aspire to predictable results, that means that you have to have a process in place first. And you should strike the balance between being formulaic in how you communicate to people, but then also effective in how you do it. And I honestly believe the average strength coach or the average coach that tries to make money online has no process.
No, of course, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I'm not saying that I'm the world's best business person by making this course. I'm like, I've probably gone further than the average online strength coach. So there's still value to be gleaned for them, hopefully.
Yeah, 100%.
Hence the guarantee. Like, even if I have said, you will not make a net loss in this course. Cost $1,000, you make $1,000 in 10 weeks, or I'll pay you the difference. Like, skin in the game, hopefully.
Yeah. I think just the reason I asked about teaching him how to write is because it's the same as social media, like Instagram and stuff. People struggle with storytelling.
Correct.
They really struggle.
Yeah.
And it's hard to learn. I'm okay. I don't think I'm amazing, far from it. But I read a lot of books as a child.
And you know, the thing is as well, people confuse sophistication with effective communication. I, putting aside politics and personal stuff, the two smartest media manipulators in the world are Donald Trump and Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I knew who you were going to say. Oh, I knew you were going to say Trump anyway.
Yeah. But think about like, build the wall, lock her up, make America great again. You can fucking reel them off.
Yeah.
Reel off me very, very quickly. What's the slogan for Joe Biden?
I don't know. I just hear him stuttering.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my like, I hammer that home with myself and with Kira all the time when we're talking about branding and stuff like that. Clear, not clever. Our products, clear, not clever. Like, we had just released a program, the Foot and Achilles program. And I come up with like clever names in my own head. I'd be giggling away at myself, and then I'm like, fucking 30% of the people won't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I just
do you want to know the name of the content business that we put together?
Yes, please.
Let Daddy Drive. Go look up letdaddydrive.com. I own that URL.
Yeah, but that's not clear. That's clever.
But the thing is, when I'm talking to you, I'd be like, here's what you need to do to make good content. You can do this, you can do this, you can do this, or you can just fucking let Daddy drive.
Yeah.
And every time there's going to be a conversation with a client, I'm going to be like, let Daddy drive.
Yeah.
But then we bought.
Becomes clear then.
Yeah, we bought LDD content for when people get upset.
No, it's good. It's good. I think it's important. I said I wanted to help. I wanted to try and normalize or help people feel, coaches and therapists in the industry feel like it's normal for them to make like good money, enjoy their work, feel like they're valued. And I think you've been doing a great job with that. And actually, more so just communicating that, like, you should even be thinking about this stuff rather than just hanging your entire life on someone else's whim on a certain day where they could just hire you or fire you.
Yeah.
So it's important. It's really important. And you enjoy your life, you enjoy your work more. Money is important. People fucking pretend it's not. It gives you a bit of freedom to do what you want to do with your life.
Yeah. And, ultimately, I think it boils down to, it's like relationships and health, probably more important. If you were to say to people like, oh, do you want to be as rich as Warren Buffett? And they say yes, you're like, oh, well, you're now 92 years old. You're going to be dead.
You're going to die.
Or, Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton's worth, I don't know, $500 million. They say, do you want to be as rich as Eric Clapton? And they might say, yeah. Be like, okay, well, his kid jumped out of a window when he was 3. Would you trade that to have $500 million? And the answer, of course, is going to be no. It's like, well, those are the things that.
Mm-hmm. Money doesn't solve all your problems, but it solves your money problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot of money problems.
Yeah. I got married though, so I'm not going to be solving those anytime soon.
I don't know. It sounds like you're on the way. Well on the way. What are you, if you want to answer, what are you doing with your like investments or whatever? I know you had some real estate.
Yep. What's
the story there?
I added another 2 units this October. And then, the problem that I have, which is I'm a foreigner in America with a foreign registered company, and, little to no, well, no, it's not true. I don't have a US. If I made what I made from an employer, they give me a mortgage. But because I'm foreign company paying myself, all that kind of stuff, they didn't want to give me the money. So I'm not inclined to try and ramp it up as quick as I previously had been.
Yeah.
But that's, certainly the plan for the long term, which is, the magic number is 3.75 million, because that invested at 7% gives me 150K of cash flow a year at 4%.
That invested in what?
S&P. If you put it in the S&P, average historical return of 7%.
Yeah.
But, you know, in reality, if you put it into a like a big building or a real estate portfolio, you could probably hit that number a little bit lower. Like a good rule of thumb is $250 a unit per month. So then, you know, if you back that out, I'll tell you I am.
So you're saying 3.75 mil net worth basically, or it does that not
invested? Yeah.
Okay.
So 150,000 divided by 250. 50 apartments.
Okay.
So if you say 300,000 per apartment, 15 million in real estate times 25% down, 3.75 million. There you go. Yeah.
By when?
As soon as possible.
What age are you now?
37. And I'm not angry that I believe I could have worked for myself full time from the day that I graduated university. Yeah. But the thing was, the shiny object that I wanted more than anything, status, was to be an elite level strength coach in rugby union. I wanted to go to the World Cup. I wanted to say that I'd worked with all these All Blacks in Japan. I wanted to say that I worked in the NFL. You know, in reality, I've been working full time for myself since October of 2020.
Yeah.
And if I say, you know, add, when was I? 30, 35, add 12, 13 years in front of that, where would I be now? I don't know.
Yeah, but maybe you wouldn't be here at all.
Maybe.
So, yeah, good. Okay. Any final words for us?
Just a privilege and an honor as always, David.
You're like, every year well, no, we chat more than once a year, obviously, but on the podcast, maybe I just have a constant existential crisis, and then I'm like trying to figure it out for another year, and then you give me a few things to think about. So I always have some things to think about. So,
likewise, brother.
Yeah,
it's good to see how well you're doing.
Yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying my work more than I have now in a long time.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I really am. And sorry, I should say enjoying my life, enjoying things, just having a good time. And also, I feel like I don't need to have an empire. You know what I mean? I just need to.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Not that I don't want to, but I don't need to. I'm clear on, like, this is how I want to live my life. That's what I'm really, really clear on. Super clear on that. I know what I want to do. I know what I don't want to do. And we're practically there. We're just moving more towards that. But there's always a slight angst that I think most people have, especially men have, where they feel there's just angst around money. It's like, will I be able to support my family? What if this happens? That kind of thing. So, like, that's always there. And I'd like to get past that as soon as I could.
You don't have any kids yet, right?
No, but I'd like to.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I wish that I could have had the motivation that having a child gave me in my 20s, when I had all the spare time and energy to apply that motivation. But there's nothing like it. Yeah.
So what would you like people to check out? Where should they go?
I'm going to try and get a redirect going for callmekeir.com, where it will just go straight to the course. Yeah. And I'll set it up so that they can just use your first name and get a discount. But failing that, just go to my Instagram, link in bio.
Great. Money Guy, thank you very much.
You start that.